you've not had my back with them vows. That's what I feel like.
I'm here in front of you today, wearing black to mourn its death. R.I.P.
You used me to paint a narrative that you could be a good man, but all you've really done is show that you're a good liar.
Surprised by the outcome of the final vows, I would be lying. Maybe the words that came out, but not who said yes and who said no. Am I surprised that, Sasha bribed Ross into going to Warsaw with her? No. We all knew she was going to use the waterworks. She knows how to manipulate him. We saw how she behaved. And so nobody's surprised. Amy, the audacity to make it seem as though you came to the experiment for a marriage when we all know you came there for clout. Sit down and keep quiet. You were dating Arthur before you came into the experiment. If you really were seriously looking for someone, why did you break things off with him so that you could come on Married at First Sight? Make it make sense. And with Lacy and Nate, that was to be expected. I'm not surprised. And then Polly and Adam. Oh my God. If delusion was a person, then we'd call her Polly. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight UK, Season 9, Episode 34. It's final vows, and we know it's about to be a dumpster fire because everything is about to go left. Anyway, so you have the couple saying goodbye and going back to their support systems. First up is Sasha and Ross. Sasha is feeling some type of way because she's worried that once Ross goes back to Manchester, he's not going to want to come back. And it's like, what is he coming back for? He has a child who's 3 years old. You are not wanting to leave your family, and you're a grown woman. Make it make sense. And you don't even live at home with your parents, so you want him to come and live in your house. And it's not like there's anything fancy about your house. We saw your house on TV. There's nothing to write home about. So I don't get the big deal about you wanting him to move in with you and be close to your support system. Here's my feeling. I feel like Sasha was happy to move to Manchester until she realized that she wouldn't be priority number one for Ross. Until she realized that Ross had a very good support system who wouldn't be eating out of her hands and who would always have opinions about things. And that's why she doesn't want to move to Manchester. She wants to move down to Warsaw to her family so that they can bamboozle this man and she can get her way. And she knows if she moves to Manchester, she won't be able to do that. And this is my opinion. She's not even considerate of the fact that he has got a young child who he needs to be close to. She is just worried about what's in Sasha's best interest, and it is what it is. You have Lacy and Nate. Lacy and Nate are in a very good space. She reminds him to take his bed, the one where she's recorded "I love you to the moon and back." They seem very happy. They seem at peace. Obviously, there's always the worry that when someone goes home, their family might say no, don't agree to to commit to that person. So I think this is their biggest fear. But of all the couples this season, they seem to be the one that's doing very well. So I can't wait to see what happens with them. Next up is Luke and Amy. Amy gets a prime delivery, and it's like, oh, advert, isn't it? So she gets a prime delivery of a stuffed bear that looks exactly like her dog that Luke was, playing with when he went for a home visit. And she says she's got this for him to cuddle up to, if he ever misses her dog. And it's like, why are you doing this? Why? You don't like this man. You know you're going to break up with him. Why give him false hope? He told you he likes you. He wants things to work. And you've decided to be the angel and the villain at the same time. Make it make sense. She's worried about, the little white lies. And it's like, what have you done to contribute to that? Has he told you not to ask him stuff on camera, and you've still gone ahead and asked him this stuff on camera and this ended up lying? Or is he just a liar? Make it make sense. I don't quite get it, and I don't quite understand it. And I wish we had heard more from Luke as to why he felt the need to tell all these white lies. I can't wait for the reunion to actually hear the truth, because I feel we need to know more. Why has he been going about telling her so many lies? He can't be like this in his real life. Otherwise, someone would have called him out on social media that this is the man that he is, who's always lying to everyone. I can't wait to see that. Then you have Polly and Adam. That's a dumpster fire. That's a relationship that's always been one-sided. So Adam is still furious from the night before because of the comments that, his wife made about him and called him a narcissist. He's still upset about that. He won't even look at her. I think the producers begged him to come and sit down with her. He didn't look like he was happy to sit down and have a conversation with her, because he wouldn't even look at her. And you could see that it was that bad. So she then was furious. because she was saying he said a lot of bad things, I've said a lot of bad things, and yet he's making a bigger deal out of what I've said. Why can't he just move on? He's being childish by not looking at me. And it's like, this relationship has always functioned at Polly's pace. When Polly's happy, everybody has to be happy. He has the right to feel some type of way. You cannot force him to sort of be happy just because you're happy. You cannot force him to look at you just because you want him to look at you. He's a grown man. He's entitled to make his own decisions and his own choices. And if you're not happy about that, well, it is what it is. But you can't say that, why is he not looking at me? Why won't he move on? I have moved on from all the horrible things that he said. It's not a point scoring system. So please move on. So first up is Ross and Sasha. Sasha goes to Warsaw. Ross goes to Manchester to see his mum and his sister. And you have Sasha busy venting to her parents. Oh, we had another disagreement. Things got very, very bad. And this is why I don't want to move to Manchester. He has to move down here. Her parents are agreeing with her that yes, he has to move down here. And it's like, he's got a 3-year-old. He's got a 3-year-old. What are you worried about? That he's going to kick her out of the house or what? If that's the case, why don't you encourage her to move halfway in between Warsaw and Manchester? That way they're sort of at least 45 minutes away from their families. If they need to go back or if there's an emergency, they can get back as soon as possible. I didn't get why her parents didn't say that. And besides, if you have your partner and you really love your partner, the moment you start saying negative things about them to your family, know that your family is depositing everything you're saying. And no matter how good your relationship becomes, your family will never forgive that person. And Ross is sitting with his sister and his mum, and his sister saying, we are here, we would be her support system. Why won't she come here? You have a young child. You can't move away from your young child because you've married somebody, and it doesn't make sense to them, and it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Anyway, you get to their final vows. Ross is the one who goes first. He starts to sort of read out his vows, and he's saying, you know, I have a daughter that I love very dearly, that I don't want to leave, and also we keep having these disagreements that can be very rough, and so it makes it very challenging. And she got upset because every time they've had a disagreement, Sasha has blamed it on Ross. She's never taken responsibility for it, and so for him to call her out at final vows, she took the papers from him. Let me read. Oh, she started crying. He doesn't want to move to Warsaw. She stormed off. I think she stormed off because she was called out, because Ross actually said, you are just as responsible about these disagreements as I am. So I am just as uncomfortable as you are in regards, if we have another one, what's going to happen? And so for her to sit there and cry and scream and yell and not see any tears doesn't make sense. If she read through the papers, obviously she knew he was moving. He said he was going to move. So I don't get why the theatrics. I don't get why. What was she aiming for? What, a BAFTA or what? Make it make sense? Anyway, she goes back up. They stand there. He tells her, okay, I'll move to Warsaw for you. And it's like, you're very selfish. You're very selfish. You've got a man who's got a child and you want him to leave his child, but you won't leave your daddy. Make that make sense? She signs, you know, I love you and I can't see myself without you. To me, that lost all value the moment she behaved the way she behaved, from her argument with Alex, and everything else she's done all up until today has just left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not buying anything she's trying to sell. I can see and understand why they didn't work outside the experiment, because this relationship has always been about Sasha. Everything she wants, she must get. Ross has to sort of come along for it. And her part was sort of just making sure he understands. And she was putting it out that she's doing her best to communicate with him because this is priority to him. But I don't think there was anything else that she did to contribute to this marriage that would make me say, oh no, how could he do that? He lost a valuable woman. No, he didn't. Because she didn't take his feelings into consideration as much as she took her own. Because if she was someone who's empathetic and understanding, she would understand that he's got a child, and if knowing her relationship with her dad, she would not want to pull him away from his child, but she did, and this is why they didn't work. Anyway, I don't know the main reason, but that's my opinion. Next up is Amy and Luke, and we've already seen Amy having a conversation with her friend and Luke having a conversation with his friend, and Luke is owning up to the fact that there's been white lies in the marriage that he takes responsibility for, and he's trying to make sure that he doesn't repeat the same mistake again. He's sorry that, you know, he's caused this rift in their marriage because of his white lies, and is hoping to sort of work on that with his wife. He really sees a future with Amy and really wants to try and make things work, which good for him. He wants to do that. Amy on her part is telling her friend, about the white lies, and she's not happy about that. And, she's lost all trust for him because she believes a marriage is based on trust. And it's like, okay, fine. You see them prep for their final vows, and Amy is saying, I've got a white dress if I say yes, and a black dress. And it's like, oh my God, here we start. Here we go. She's already auditioning for a BAFTA. Let's go. Anyway, so we have Luke. He's decided to wear he's the same outfit he wore for his wedding because he wants to show Amy that he's all in and he really wants this marriage to work. Amy turns up wearing a black dress because, she said if she's wearing a black dress, it's going to be no. And if nothing else, I give Luke credit for owning up to his mistakes, the mistakes that he's made in his marriage that might have hindered them sort of progressing the way they were supposed to. Yes, he was cringe with some of his comments because it didn't translate. I think it was a difference in culture and it was lost in translation. That's my opinion with that. And so for him to say everything and then sort of as soon as he spoke about the fact that she was cold, you saw her face change. So these girls are okay dishing it, but they can't take it because the moment their husbands sort of bring up anything negative about them, same thing happened with Sasha, you see suddenly the change in their faces because they're like, why are you painting me in a bad light? And it's like, so you're okay to paint your husband in a bad light and to say all these negative things, but the moment he says anything, your back goes up. Make it make sense. Anyway, you have Amy's turn. She speaks about all the positives. You're good looking. I was really looking forward to this. And then she goes in, oh, your lies have hindered our progress. And it's like, seriously, what have you done to contribute to the downfall of this relationship? This can't be a one-sided thing. He's only spoken about the fact that you were cold. We all saw it. Even Stevie Wonder saw you were cold. In the sense that you were cold to this man, but with Adam, you were okay with him sort of making inappropriate comments about you trying lingerie. You were okay hitting him with a dildo, but suddenly the moment your husband licks a spoon or makes a comment, your back goes up. Make it make sense. You never liked this man from day one, and you were putting up with him just because you wanted to stay on the show. Now you're at the end of the show. You're showing who you are. That's it. She's shown us who she is. She came on the show to be famous, let's be honest, because I've seen somewhere that apparently she was dating Arthur up until it was time for her to come on Married at First Sight. Then she dropped her relationship with Arthur. So for me, she came on the show for clout, got the clout that she needed, stayed in this experiment for as long as she could, pretended to be the naive, quiet, sweet little wife. And when she realized it wasn't getting her any airtime, she decided to bring out the real her. And we've seen how she's treated this man badly. And yet when she had wife swap, she was a totally different being. So make it make sense. She should have left this man ages ago. When she wrote leave, she should have stood up and left. She wasn't forced to stay. She didn't need to embarrass him. This was very embarrassing, derogatory. She seems to thrive from this because the same thing happened when she met her friends. It's the same thing that's happening now. It's a good thing this marriage has ended. Good for Luke. I hope his person slides into his DMs, or I hope he finds his person because he didn't deserve this. Yes, he told the white lies, but that's not enough to humiliate him on national TV. That's not enough to sort of speak to him like that and say this marriage is dead, gone, deceased. There was no need for all that. She was auditioning for a BAFTA. Let us hope she gets one. So third to say their final vows is Nate and Lacy. Nate and Lacy, I like them when they're together. I hate Lacy when she's with the girls and she decides to gang up on people. That I don't like. I like when she minds her business and she's with her husband and they're in a happy space. That Lacy I like. Anyway, you have Nate sort of speaking to his friend and talking about the fact that they had issues with communication, in the sense that Lacy struggled to understand him and he struggled to sort of communicate what he was feeling or what he was going through, which is understandable because he's got his ADHD and communication difficulties. Lacy, on her part, her mom and sister say they really love Nate. They think he's an amazing guy, which I personally think he is, because he hasn't at any point sort of done anything that you'd say, oh, he was disrespectful. He hasn't behaved the way Jordan behaved last season and sort of blamed it on his ADHD. Instead, he's just kept to himself and minded his own business unless he felt the need to sort of step in. So he was mainly focused on his marriage. That's what he went into the experiment for, and that's what he came out with, which I love. For their final vows, they both looked amazing. They both really did. And Lacy was the first one to go, and she sort of spoke about their issues with communication and her struggle to sort of understand whether he really liked her or whether, he didn't. Obviously, the producers tried to play on the the sister is more beautiful than Lacy's thing at the start of the season. But anyway, I like that they've got to a place whereby she's learned to appreciate that he might not communicate, but what he's good at, he's very good at. He's very caring, he's very empathetic, he's very compassionate, he's very understanding. And that, I think, the communication they can work on, which they have been doing. So if you can get so many good things about your partner and someone you really like, there's no point in throwing away the relationship just because your communication is poor. The two of you can go to therapy and work on your communication, which was good. He really struggled with his vows because he even told his friend that Lacy thought my initial vows at the wedding were crap. So I want to make more of an effort. And this is what Adam was saying, that when you like someone, and you can't see yourself without that person, you will do everything in order to win that person, which is what Nate has done because he really likes Lacy. So he went out of his way to sort of make sure he wrote vows that were very in-depth, that were very sort of compassionate and understanding, and was sort of explanatory about his condition. And so you could tell the fact that he kept wanting to tear up and sort of cry was really sad, but he sort of held it together as a man. And Lacy, you could see, really appreciated his vows. So am I surprised they said yes? No, I'm not. Because as a couple, they worked. I didn't like Lacy with the girls, but as a couple on their own, they worked. We didn't really get to see much of their journey. I think it's because they were doing so well. The producers were looking for drama and they couldn't find any. So that's why they kept going to the toxic couples that we know of. Last but not least, obviously, it's Mr. and Mrs. Drama, Polly and Adam. And so we have them sort of sit down with their family members and discuss their relationship. Is anyone surprised with the outcome of this sort of marriage? No, let's be honest, no. So you have Polly sort of speaking to her friend Alfie and her mum, sort of saying that, you know, she's really struggled in this marriage because she's been wanting a lot of things but hasn't been able to get them. And she feels that Adam hasn't been fair to her. She really likes him and she can see a future with him, but they're always butting heads. And so for her friend to be honest and tell her that, you know, this man is not your person, you shouldn't be defending him, you need to keep it stepping, you will find your person that will like you for who you are. What do I think? I think Polly and Adam were out for fame. Polly more so than Adam. I think when they got matched, Polly knew that her husband didn't like her like that, but decided to stay in the experiment and be the most sort of the most controversial couple in the experiment. That's the impression that I get. Because their ups and downs, they have been the most talked about couple in this experiment. If you ever ask anyone about season 9, one of the most standout couples will be the two of them because of their roller coaster ride of a marriage. You have Adam's friend, poor Adam's friend. He deserves a paycheck from Channel 4 because he's been on a roller coaster ride from the marriage to the, you know, family visit to the homestays. Now he's there for the final conversation. And I'm surprised we've never seen any of Adam's family. And it makes me think that Adam from day one knew that this wasn't going to work. And this is why he didn't bother to involve his family. He decided to involve his friend who was willing to go along on this ride with him. He's sort of saying when they went for homestays, he saw a part of Polly that he really liked. But once they got back to filming in the streets, Polly returned to her normal swearing and horrible self. And the friend was trying to say to him, but if Polly was very nice to you at home, that's the Polly you're going to be married to, not the Polly that is the one that you've been in the experiment with. So maybe it's worth you giving it a shot. But Adam can't see a future past it. So he's decided, I don't know where we stand. As I said, feel like these two people knew that they wanted to be the standout couple of the season. They realized that their marriage was not working and it would never work. So they decided to sort of be the most controversial couple, the most talked about couple, and create as much storyline for themselves that would give them a lot of clout once they left the experiment. Sadly for me, I think Adam comes off looking way better than Polly does. That's my opinion. They meet up for their final vows. She's wearing a wedding dress and it's like, why? Why are you wearing a wedding dress? Are you trying to entice him into saying yes? I don't get it. I wish Adam had the opportunity to say his vows first, but we got to hear Polly. She spoke about, you know, he's led her on, he's lied to her, he's this, that, and the other. And it's like, this man has said from day one that he doesn't get the urge to kiss you when he looks at you. What has he lied about? This man has said he doesn't get the urge to sort of be romantic with you. He's not motivated to flirt with you. He's told you that, if I really liked you and I saw a future with you, I would make the changes that you're asking me for. But because I don't see it, this is why I'm not doing it. And he actually said that he doesn't see a future outside of the experiment. So for you to turn around and say that you've lied to me, you said you saw a future, well, Channel 4 needs to play that up. They need to show it to us, because I don't remember him ever saying I see a future outside of the experiment. I think wherever Alex is, he's celebrating because he told you so. He told you so, but you wouldn't listen because you had this relationship that you had in your mind. And now that that relationship hasn't panned out, you're looking for someone to blame. Do I blame Adam for storming off? No, I don't. The fact that Polly was putting on theatrics, apparently she's an actress. At one moment she was crying, at one moment she was angry, and then she was back to crying. And it's like, why? Why do we need all this? This marriage was doomed from day one. From the moment he said he doesn't have any sort of inclination to sort of kiss you, hug you, or do anything with you, you should have known that there was nothing there and you should have kept it moving. But you decided to stay on this marriage, not him. You decided to stay in it. So that's your fault. So you need to keep it stepping. Anyway, what a mess. What a mess. And it's sad, but none of the wives are likable. At least with the guys, you can say, oh, I like this one now. At least I don't. For example, with Ross, I don't like the way he behaved towards Alex. But outside of that, he's been amazing. And then the other three guys, Adam has always stood on business. He's always said he doesn't like his wife. And that's it. The other two have been amazing. So sadly, the women have really outdone themselves to show that they can be the villain this season. And I hope they're able to sort of explain themselves at the reunion, because this is not it. This is really not it. This is really terrible. And I don't know why it's been allowed to continue. But anyway, I digress. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 33. Bye guys.